All-American Otaku Show.
Hello everyone, welcome to the All-American Otaku Show. Thank Body of Work for our new intro music. Today, before we get into the subject, I would like to get a moment of silence for one of the most creative minds in wrestling. One of the biggest draws, Bray Wyatt. Thank you. Now let's on to the show. Our subject today is Shonen. Shonen generally are designed for people who are in their teens all the way to early 20s. It has aspects of fan service, comedy, trying to achieve a major goal, or just simply action. The big four in Shonen are Bleach, One Piece, Naruto, and Dragon Ball. The first I would like to talk about is Fairy Tail. Fairy Tail is a shonen anime that stars Lucy, Natsu, Gray, and Urza. It starts off with Lucy trying to find her way into the Fairy Tail Guild. This leads into her meeting a fake salamander. Salamander's supposed to be a member of the fairy tale that's really strong with fire magic. The fake salamander was using sleep spells and charm spells to try to get women and sell them into slavery. But she was eventually rescued, as well as all the other women, from the real salamander, Natsu. Natsu is a great fire magic, but has a downside. He has a severe motion sickness. This leads him to some hilarious, sometimes outrageous ways troubles he gets himself into. Eventually, Lucy and Natsu meet Gray, a person who could do ice magic and ice form magic. Natsu and Gray don't really get along, but they're willing to work with each other. And of course, the one that everyone fears, Urza, whose ability as an S-class wizard, has equipped magic. She can form armor as well as weapons at will. And last but not least, to round up the crew, there is a talking cat named Happy, who has wings and flies around and as sort of the mascot of the team. The next anime I'd like to talk about is Bleach. Bleach is about a tough kid who is able to see ghosts and hollows and the supernatural. This leads him to find this one soul reaper named Rika, who then leads him to the idea of being a soul reaper himself by giving him temporary powers to defeat this particularly nasty hollow. This also leads to Ichigo, who's the tough kid, decides to go rescue her once she's captured by the Soul Society for giving him her power. This leads to other events where he goes against Aizen, who's a Soul Reaper that went bad, as well as various other adventures to there. I highly recommend seeing it. The next anime I'd like to talk about is more of a modern one called Jujutsu Kaisen. It is about curses trying to relieve yourself from these curses, starring this regular guy who happens to have advanced skills, and he eats a finger that ends up cursing him and giving him various different abilities to fight curses. There's a panda character. There's a character that only talks, what I find amusing, in rice bowl ingredients. So, because his power is curse speech, when he says something, something happens. So he talks in rice bowl ingredients to avoid anything negative from happening. And last but not least, we're going to talk about Naruto. Naruto is about a orphaned boy who wants to be Hokage, the leader of the village. But the village people look down on him because of his affliction and the idea he has no parents. He has trouble at first doing clone jutsu, and then eventually he finds a scroll and being able to do shadow jutsu fairly well. And then he learns Rashangan, which is an electric attack. He meets friends and crew members such as Sakura and Sasuke. Sakura, thought of as a useless character, is actually a very useful character because she has the ability to heal people and she is strong with chakra. Sasuke is kind of moody and switches sides to Orochimaru or any side that benefits him to his goal to eventually kill off the person who slaughtered his whole entire clan, which is the Uchiha clan. These three go on several adventures and it leads on to Dragon Ball Shippuden, and then eventually goes to Boruto, the next generation of Naruto's kids, Sasuke's kids, Sakura's kids, and the like. The next anime I'd like to talk about is Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball is an anime that started off in the 80s. It starts off as a comedy where the main character Goku never seen anything outside of his home, and where he was trained by Grandpa Gohan to become a martial artist. This leads him into several funny situations, as well as his meeting Bulma, who's searching for these magical Dragon Balls. When you collect them all, you can make any wish you want. Within reason, of course. This also leads to similar situations because Goku doesn't know anything about women. And this also leads them to meet this person named Yamcha, who's sort of a bandit character who wants Dragon Balls and stuff for his own personal wish. They two go on adventures and they fight various people and go on humorous situations. This leads to Dragon Ball Z, where Goku has a kid and whatnot with a female character named Chi-Chi. They too end up having a kid named Gohan, which is funny because it means rice in Japanese. Gohan ends up being stronger than Goku at first, and this leads to Goku trying to fight his brother Raditz, who kidnaps Gohan to try to train him into a Saiyan and make him more believable and trying to destroy a weaker planet and cultivate it. Goku ends up dying in the process when Piccolo uses special beam cannon to kill Goku and Raditz. This eventually leads to the saga where Goku comes back to face Vegeta, who ends up becoming a hero later on, and eventually facing Frieza, who ends up joining him in the tournament in Super. And then they fight Cell, who has pretty much all their powers, and then they fight Boo, who is almost indestructible. It's last but not least, I'm going to talk about One Piece. One Piece is a very long anime. I highly recommend it if you are willing to wade through the 1,000 episodes of the anime. This anime starts a character named Monkey D. Luffy, who is sort of an elastic man who wants to become king of the pirates. This also leads him to meeting crew members such as Zoro, who wants to be the greatest swordsman, and even was tested against Mihawk. Though he lost the fight, it just proved that he wanted to be stronger and stronger, so he will never lose another fight again. And this also leads to them meeting Sanji, who's sort of a cook who uses his feet instead of his hands because a true chef never uses his hands because that would be damage to their livelihood. He is sort of very into women, and he doesn't like when people waste food. Next, I'd like to introduce several others that joined. Chopper, a reindeer who's a doctor. Babbling Brook, who's a skeleton musician. Frankie, who's a cyborg ship mechanic. And Robin, who has the ability to form hands and is a former assassin. Now here's Mr. Pat on his manga review.
It's called Shonen, which generally appeals to younger boy audiences. This time I'm covering one called Mashal, Magic and Muscle. Basically, it's a mix of, if you probably heard of One Punch Man, and most of you probably heard of Harry Potter. It's basically this world of magic, and Mashal himself is like anomaly which has no magic abilities whatsoever, but somehow uh, he has a lot of muscle. There's a lot of abilities that would seem almost magic. So when he goes to school to hide his identity because they found out about him earlier, so he has to go to school to you know be the top rank magic user. Well, funny thing is, since he can't use magic, he uses his techniques of muscle to really fool them. Like best example is that they're like Harry Potter, flying on brooms and the whole game. They really just nail it on the head with this manga. It's so close to Harry Potter. It's not even funny. Anyways, he jumps and he starts running in place and kind of makes it look like he's flying, but a lot of people see him as running in place, but also kind of fool themselves thinking he's just running. So during those little time shenanigans, he's also able to, you know, give him a wand and he just chucks it at a guy that has trying to use his magic on him and just chucks at him with such a speed of light that looks like he's casting magic. Nope, he's just using muscle. Uh, there's a whole set of other characters in there that I just don't remember, but about a four set group of actual magic users, and this story is that you know Mashal has to kind of get through this faking magic, and for the most part, he really does fake it. It's really a spoof of a shonen, and I hope you like this kind of comedy slash shonen, and I really like.